All right, so welcome to Tech Talk. This is just something I started doing fairly recently, I guess a couple of months ago or 3 months ago or so. And it's just because I love it. I don't have any other reason to do it other than I am completely in love with learning and collaborative technologies. It's my passion, it's my hobby. You ask me a question about technology, I'll probably stay until 2 in the morning just playing with it. So I decided to start sharing my passion with people, and that's pretty much it. That's like my mother was asking me the other day, but why do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I like it. It's a hobby. I don't know why I do that. Maybe I'll discover someday that there's a really good business reason for me to do that. But for now, it's just because I love it. So today, what we're going to be talking about is virtual learning for human beings. So why is it that people are experiencing what we call Zoom fatigue? Why is it that people are tired? And that's why I have sheep all over the place, because people are literally falling asleep. And the way that people fall asleep on Zoom is they literally turn off their camera. And some people turn off their camera just because of whatever reason, right? Because there's stuff happening in the background or for privacy or whatever other reason. But, you know, some people, and I've been guilty of that myself, turn the camera off because you're multitasking like crazy and there's a lot of other stuff taking your attention and you have given up that presentation a long time ago. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then towards the end of my time here, hey, Caleb, can you help me with time? Because I literally forgot to put my watch on.
No problem.
Thank you. Because otherwise I will probably get too excited about our topic and forget all about time. And then we're going to visit Bramble. Bramble has recently been my happy virtual place. What I do is I turn Bramble on early in the morning on the days in which my students know that I'm going to be doing research or correcting stuff, which at the end of the semester is pretty much all I do. And then they just hop in. They just come into my office, my virtual Bramble office, and ask me a question. They love it because that gives them very free access to me, very easy. I don't have to, schedule an appointment. And I love it because answering those quick questions as they occur, like some people, it might drive them crazy. For me, it's a welcome interruption. And it's also much faster than if I schedule appointments. Because if I schedule even a half an hour appointment, that's an entire half hour, right? If I answer a quick question, it could take me 5 minutes. So the whole thing is much more efficient for everyone. And then in the meantime, I'm working on whatever tab in the computer and I'm listening to chill music that I put in with YouTube playlists of chill Celtic music. So we'll show you what Bramble is all about. Now, before we go on, I'd like to give you all a mission. I'd like to ask you all to literally get up, no cheating. So like no looking for the purse that is next to you on the chair or anything, like literally get up and find an object that says something about you. Something that is meaningful to you and would help you introduce yourself. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly check how many people we have and put you in groups of maybe 3 or 4. And then you can introduce yourselves to your people showing your object. Now, at that point, if you don't have a camera, you may have to describe your object to the people, right? If you have a camera, you may have to turn off your background just because the object looks like a ghost otherwise, and then share your object just with those 3 or 4 people in your group, and then we're going to get back together. So take just a minute to get up and go look for your house, through your house for your object, and then let me see how many people I have. So I'm going to assign you automatically to groups. I hope you got up and got your object. Does everybody have an object? Okay. Cool. All right, there you go. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. And as you all come back, I am just curious, and you can just unmute yourself. So I'm just curious as to if anybody would like to share what kinds of objects did you come up with? Would anybody like to unmute yourselves and say?
I just chose a little statue that My daughter bought me because it is Big Ben, and being English, it appealed to me in the store when I was shopping with her. So it's a little reminder of England and London for me.
Got it. Thank you, Janine.
Yes.
Thank you, Janine. Okay, anybody else?
I shared the indoor fire pit that I bought as a gift for my wife. As city dwellers, it's very meaningful for us when we make it out to the country and are able to sit by a fire pit. So she happens to love that experience, and they've created these lovely little indoor fire pits that you can put propyl ethol in and basically have a little tabletop fire pit. So that's a meaningful thing for me as a city dweller.
Oh, that's kind of fun. I love the fire pit that we purchased has been our lifeline during the pandemic, because that was a way that we could socially distance and have a couple of friends at a time, and we would all sit outside and eat s'mores and be far away from each other. And now all those friends are telling me that they're vaccinated. So now we can still have our s'mores, but we won't have to, like, okay, you moved, use the the crazy hand sanitizer again. Oh my gosh, I touched your plate, right? Like we can be a little bit more relaxed, which we're all really looking forward to. All right, so let me share my screen again and go back to Zoom. And then my question is going to be, every time I have to move everything around to see what I'm doing, why did I use this icebreaker? And at this point, I'm going to stop sharing just so that I can see you guys answering, because it drives me crazy when I can't. So why do you think I used this icebreaker? I could have used any icebreaker.
So we can introduce ourselves and get to know one another and find some sort of common ground to further our conversations. Okay,
yes, absolutely. I did that. But what else did I do?
You made us move.
I made you move. So that's pretty much it. One of the things, and I'm going to share my screen again, just because otherwise I get excited and I forget that I have a presentation and I go like 3 PowerPoints from now. So the whole point of the presentation today, or our experience today, is how do we create virtual sessions that don't put people to sleep, like this little kitty cat over there. And how do we create virtual sessions that work for humans? And the very first tip is that humans like to move. So the whole idea of creating those long meetings, even 2-hour meetings, like in my program at Drake, we have monthly meetings with all the faculty that last about, I want to say 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. And 2 hours is too long for people to stay without having a break. So usually you should have a break at most every hour, at most. And if you can have other breaks in between, like quick ones in which people get up and stretch, that it's not natural for people to sit down for that long. So if you think about what we do in the office, for example, when we work in the office, when I was at my office at Drake, I would get up, make coffee, just like I do at home. And then I would see a colleague in the little, Folgers, whatever that machine is called, the Keurig machine, and we would chat, then I would come back to the office. So there was more movement involved. I would have a meeting, then I would actually walk to where the meeting was. I wasn't seated at my desk, one meeting after another, nonstop without getting up. So that's kind of like rule number 1. Humans need to move. That's a pretty simple thing. The mission 2 that I'm going to give you is I'm going to, once again, put you in small teams. I'm going to recreate, like scramble the team so that you just get to network with somebody else. And I'm going to share with you something very simple that maybe, let me stop sharing here for a moment. How many of you know about Google Jamboard? Because that's a pretty common technology. Google Jamboard, how about you raise your hand if you've known? How many of you don't know Google Jamboard? Oh, several of you don't. Okay, Google Jamboard is a pretty simple technology. It is just like a whiteboard. Frankly, it's not my favorite whiteboard. There are better whiteboards out there that you can use. One of my favorites is called Miro. That's M-I-R-O, Miro.com. I like that one better. I also like something called Padlet, Padlet.com. After our meeting, I can put all those links on my website if you guys forgot all about them or if I didn't write them down. So there are other whiteboards that I like better, but Google Jamboard, besides being free, is works just like any other Google document. You just give people permission. And it has two things that I like. The first is that you can create, once you create one, you can create multiple. So I'm going to share my screen now and show you how it looks like. The second thing is that it works great for when you want to use little Post-it notes. To enter Post-it notes, it's great. To enter text, it's a little finicky. To enter images, it's usually okay. So it's like, it's not the best, but if all you want is for people to go somewhere and put Post-it notes, it works fabulously. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to click here. No, I clicked on, oh, there, sorry. So you're basically going to pick the page with your group number. I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment, and I'll give you the link, and then use Post-its to enter your, actually, I'd like you to choose 5 hates. Sorry, I forgot to change that. That's just so that we can move a little faster, and because I want you to see each other's hates in a moment. So the question once again is 5 things you hate about Zoom meetings, okay? So I'm going to click here, and that takes me to the 10 Google boards that I created. I don't think we're going to need 10. I think we're going to need 6. And then you will see that as you click here on this little thing in this little frame, you go to group 1, group 2, group 3, group 5, etc. So go to the group where you're supposed to go. And then to enter something, you just talk to each other and decide what you want to enter. And to enter a sticky note, you just click on sticky note, you choose the color you want, and you enter whatever you want to enter, and you save, and there it is. And then you cancel if you're done. And if you want to delete something, you just click on the little hamburger on the right and you delete it. That's Google Jamboard. It's super easy to use, and it's great when that's the only purpose. The only thing you have to make sure is that under share, which I'm loading right here, you just make it so that anyone on the internet can edit so that people can continue editing it. All right. So with that said, let me stop sharing now. Does anybody have a question? Let me see. Oh, don't worry about remembering your group, because I'm going to redo the groups now. So then you will see what your group is. All right, everybody's going to be coming back now. And then I'll give you one more thing to do, but this one will be individual, so this should be easy. I think it was working because I was seeing lots of little Post-it notes coming into the boards. Yep. I use Jamboards all the time. When I want more elaborate things, I use, let me put them here. It's Miro.com or Padlet.com. But don't worry, I will enter all those links. Let me actually write down that I need to enter that. Miro and Padlet. And there are 1,000 more, by the way. These are just 2 that occur to me right now. Okay, yes, somebody said you also have Mural.com, which is also very good. So there are several tools that you can use for that. All right, so what I would like you guys to do now, and that is something you can do on your own, is to just take a minute to go back, and I'm going to just put all the links here, and I'll share the screen a little bit just to show you what I'd like you to do. And I'd like you to very quickly go to the other groups and see like quickly look at what people said and notice that, like Caleb was saying, I'm clicking on the screen here at the top. And I want you to just click there and see what other people said. And I'm noticing it's 10:38, so I'd better get on with the program. So just take about a minute to doing that, and then we'll go on. And the link again is here. Time is flying. Was that enough for you guys to have a sense already? Okay, so somebody unmute yourselves, and what is it that you can see?
I think especially like in chart number 4, we can see, and in others, like human interaction is the thing that's like very missing from Zoom. And somebody said that they get distracted by looking out the window and like from the birds, and she's still there or he's still there, but people can't tell that because they can't feel you like your presence, right? I think.
Yeah, yes, like you become a bidimensional thing and you lose that sense. That's correct. Okay, one more person.
Well, one thing sort of stands out from what we were talking with Caleb a couple of minutes ago is that it seems that people mistake the tool for the actual meeting structure. Poor meetings will be even worse on Zoom. But if it's a poorly managed meeting, it would have been a poor meeting in person, and it's even worse in Zoom. So that should already be a given here. We should just agree that people, and sometimes our managers, would probably just need a good reminder of what makes a good meeting or what is the responsibility of carrying out objectives in a real meeting. And if you can do that in real life, then you can probably do something better on Zoom, but it doesn't work the other way around.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Frederick, because one of the things that happens in real meetings is that you have the human interaction. You have the three-dimensional thing. People see their friends. There's, you know, you can have coffee. Sometimes there are refreshments. There are other things in your senses, and you're not being distracted by the birds. So you can't get away with having a worse meeting. You can't get away with that on Zoom, because in Zoom, all you have is that screen. And on top of that, people have ugly slides. So humans like to contribute, they like to participate. So if you have a whole meeting of an hour in which you're just talking, that's probably not happening. So one thing that I wanted to very quickly go through is I did some investigation on what Zoom fatigue is, and I wanted to explain to you what it is from a research standpoint. There is an official definition on the screen: the symptoms we experience after prolonged use of computer-mediated audiovisual technology. So that's the official definition of Zoom fatigue. And it's not just screen fatigue, because we've been spending a lot of time on our computers for a while, on social media and writing stuff. It's not just that. It's something that's happening specifically when we are not stretching. So normally I would say to you guys, and I'm going to do the same thing, just get up and stretch right now, because we've been going for 42 minutes and nobody got up. So this is the time in which you should be getting up and stretching, even if it's for a second, and then sit down again. Okay. So one of the things that happens is that we're not moving enough. Here's the other thing that is happening, and that is the faces are too big. Normally, I would be asking you guys to interact more, but I'm trying to move a little faster now towards the end. So you see this face, perfectly pleasant, good-looking guy on the screen, but because it appears so big, it is uncomfortable to people, because usually our brains are programmed to think that if somebody is invading our space, that means there's conflict. That means, well, of course, that's cultural. But if somebody's that close and looking at you directly like that, it seems like you're about to have a fight. So that's part of the problem. The faces are appearing too large, and that's by another researcher. There's too much eye contact, and also people get uncomfortable by seeing themselves. I'm very used to it. It doesn't bother me. But if you don't know how to get rid of it, let me stop sharing just for a moment. It's super easy. All you do is you look for yourself. There should be a little hamburger thing next to your face or to your participation on the top right, and you can just hide self-view. And just that step alone and teaching people how to do that would make things more comfortable because they wouldn't be seeing themselves and then they wouldn't be on stage all the time. People hate being on stage. So when you're seeing yourself and on top of that, you're seeing yourself really big, it gets all the anxiety that people have with public speaking. You're basically making all your meeting participants become public speakers, which is something very comfortable for some of us, but terrifying for some others. So that's one of the reasons why there is a problem there. Okay, so tip number 3, turn off the self view and teach people how to do it, and either reduce the video sizes, right? You could even not make Zoom like the main thing, make it a little smaller, or use tools that have smaller sizes, or simply move the monitor and get your employees like a keyboard, a different keyboard, so that their monitors can be a little bit farther away. Boredom, no variety, always the same context. There's nothing happening. It's just bidimensional. And even when people send people to break rooms, it's just to discuss questions. And here's the research on learning. Like Frederick was saying, it's not much different. It's just good learning, good meetings. Context helps retention. So mixing up study locations, moving people from one place to another, going somewhere else, all those things help with retention. Well, we don't have that with Zoom because everybody is in the same place. One of the things I do in my classes, and I mentioned that in my last tech talk, is I use themes. For example, in my ethics class, I use the Game of Thrones. So I give a speech dressed as Daenerys Targaryen, and I send messages. Like in this message, I'm saying that that I'm getting my second dose against the grayscale disease, which obviously means I was getting my COVID vaccine. And then I tell people that I'm going to be at my Bramble castle. So I use the theme in everything that I do, and that helps give a little context. Oh, or the martinis and the save the world and the detective spy theme, or anything like that gives a context that helps people remember what's going on. So tip number 5 is add context, and I will share all those tips again at the end, so don't worry. We lose, here's a very important one. We get disoriented because it becomes bidimensional or bidimensional, however you pronounce that. Can somebody unmute yourselves and tell me how the heck do I pronounce that word? In 30 years, I didn't learn it. Is it bidimensional or bidimensional? Somebody?
I always heard it bidimensional.
Thank you, bidimensional. So everything is bidimensional and we lose a sense of space, and that can be particularly disorienting to people. And there's too little privacy, because if I ask you a question, I'm looking at all of you and you're all answering with everybody seeing. So when people say, like professor friends of mine are like, why aren't my students arriving early and staying late and talking to each other? Well, they're not, because everybody can see their conversations. It's kind of a little uncomfortable, right? So that's another problem. So tip number 6, smaller groups, breakout rooms, okay, but have them as part of your structure, and alternative spaces. And that's where we're going to get into Bramble right now. So here were my 7 tips. Humans need to move, humans need to contribute, turn off self-view, reduce the video size or move everything away, add context, themes, ideas, something that will bring people together. Even foods that you tell people to eat in advance will stick to the senses, smaller groups, and alternative spaces. Okay, so let's talk about Bramble. This is what my Bramble room looks like. We're actually going to visit it. This is where I usually hang out. You see me here. And students already know that they need to find me at the lodge. That's my favorite hangout place, listening to music. So that's where they directly come. I tell them directly where to go. So we're all going to get to visit Bramble. So what's going to happen? And this is where you're going to arrive. You're going to arrive in this place and then follow the footsteps to go to the lodge. And I recorded a little video in here just to show you. You're going to be using your arrows to move. And as you use your arrows, as you can see, I'm a little discombobulated with my arrow. You just go straight to the door and then meet us straight in the, I was going to ask you to walk around, but this time I'm just going to say, just go straight in there. We can stop there for a moment and I can show you a little bit of how my room was a little customized. For example, these are my dogs. And then we're all going to go to the stage. Once we get into the stage, and you will see like the light on at the door. Once we get to the stage, you can take a seat in one of these places. Caleb and I are going to be here in the spotlight. And if you want to ask a question to us, you can just come here to the stairs, and then we're going to be calling you. All right, at this point of the presentation, we all went together to Bramble, and it's pretty messy to record a group of people walking around in Bramble. So what I thought would be better for the recorded version of the Tech Talk, for those of you who are watching the recording, is Caleb and his friends and I from the folks from Bramble kindly agreed to have a special tour for you, and we recorded that. So that's what I'm going to show you next.
Okay, so here we are in the latest template from Bramble. This is our modern headquarters template. We're gonna head inside and take a look. Let's go in. Yeah, so this is a new template we just launched. We call this the modern headquarters, the modern office. And much like the other templates, there's quite a few things you can do in here. First thing I'm going to show you is just the customization. If you go to menu and customize space, little pencils will appear and objects that are customizable. And once you go in there, you can select a piece of artwork or include some typography and simply pop it into the space. And just like that, we have Chris's lovely Tech Talk logo here on our sign, given that, it's all about Tech Talk today. And of course, the Bramble logo can be customized and a few other things. Gabby, Natasha, do you mind joining us? We'll do a quick walkthrough for Chris. Let's head over to the spotlight up here. So when you're in the spotlight, you can be heard and seen anywhere. I'm going to walk away to demonstrate this. Natasha, why don't you come with me? And Chris and Gabby, would you mind just saying a little something?
For sure.
Natasha,
Chris, how are you today?
off to the left there.
I am fine. Whenever somebody tells me to say a little something, of course, my mind goes blank and I cannot think of a single thing to say.
Let's head back in.
But I guess
no matter where we go, we can still hear Chris and Gabby.
Think of anything
and
else.
Truth be told, I can actually mute them on my side. So now I've muted Chris, I've muted Gabby, and now we can't hear them. Natasha can still hear them because she hasn't muted them yet, but I've muted them on my side, so I can have a conversation with Natasha over here, even though they're still on Spotlight, which is kind of a neat feature. All right. The next thing we'll mention are these private spaces. As you can see, the team is walking into the office, and as soon as they cross that threshold, they can no longer hear or see me. Now we're in a private area. In this private area, only the people that are inside the space will hear and see you. So we're all sort of in this office, and even if you were outside by, let's say, the first desk, you wouldn't hear us because we're having a meeting. Again, we have a spotlight here, so I can easily just, boom, walk right into the spotlight and be heard by everyone that's in this room. And then over here on the screen, you'll see that we've embedded some content. So this Tech Talk number 4 visual we popped in, and when you click to view, it brings up a little modal here. We can control all of the information, the headline, the copy that's in there. We can also embed actual websites and content into those buttons. So as you'll see here, we've embedded a website that contains Chris's presentation, and I can easily just page through. She's picked a lovely platform here that makes this beautiful flippable view, and that's it. Just like that, I can exit back out and be back in the world again.
Okay, so you went to the spotlight so that we could all hear you, right?
Yes.
But if we are in the private space, can't we all hear each other anyway?
Yes, however, if you had a large group of people here, let's say 10, you might want to force the presenter to be on screen. So again, right now it's 6 videos on screen time. If you had 10 or 15 people in the meeting, the person presenting would want to show up in everybody's video feed. So if that's the case, you pop into the spotlight and boom, you're highlighted for everyone.
Oh, gotcha. So if I went now to the highlight, for example, to the spotlight,
Exactly.
and people wanted to see just me, how would they do it, or they can't?
They would make you full screen. So I'll actually demonstrate that on my side so folks viewing can see. Basically, I just click this full screen button and boom, Chris is full screen on my screen at the moment. I'll show you, Chris, how that looks so that you can see it. Go ahead. On my video feed, you'll see that there's a full screen button. So if you look in my video window there, there's actually a full screen button. And for those viewing at home, full screen button. Now Chris is full screen for me. I can full screen for her. And at the bottom here, there's a little closeout and boom, we're back in the world.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's head back outside. So you'll see there are all these lovely little desks set up in this office space. And if I pop into one of them, you'll lose me because this is a private zone. There we go. And now Chris and I are in a private zone. And even though Natasha's standing close by, she can't hear our conversation because we're working at the desk. Boom, Gabby's popped in. Boom, Natasha's popped in. Thank you for demonstrating that. Let's go for a quick walk, shall we? We're going to walk around here. We've got some lovely chairs to hang out on. Some fun little tables over here. And we're going to head this way. All right, we see some lovely screens here. Again, embedding content, objects that can be customized, these screens. And if we head to the other side of the room, you'll see that as you get to the far side of the screen, that the videos will actually move out of your way, which is a lovely feature so that they pop to the other side of the screen for you. We have another space here called the stage and theater. We're going to pop into that and show folks that. All right, so the stage and the theater are meant for presentations. They are much like the boardroom, a space specifically designed to present and to show content. In these rooms, you're only heard and seen if you're on the spotlight. So I'm standing here in the spotlight. Everyone else's camera and microphone is automatically muted because I'm the person presenting. Chris, would you mind coming up into the spotlight with me? Chris will walk up and boom, just like that. Now she's also on spotlight. And so we can give our presentation to Gabby and Natasha and the rest of the group that's here. This becomes perfect for presentations, performances, panels, anytime that you want to have all eyes on the people on stage. You can continue to use the chat feature in the lower left. Gabby's throwing in some lovely emojis. I'm just going to do a quick welcome to the group, and that gives you the ability to continue to have that energy and that excitement while folks are in the crowd. All right. Well, we'll finish our tour today here. Are there any questions?
I have a couple of questions, actually.
Please,
the first one is when we watch a video, like if we embed a video in there, would people be seeing the videos at different times, like at their own time?
That's a great question. Yes, at the moment, that is an async player. So for folks, when clicking on the player, they will be starting the video from the top. We are working on synced functionality, which will come out in the days ahead. As you might imagine, there's all sorts of complexity around syncing that for lots of people viewing from different places. The one exception is YouTube Live. You can live stream content into those screens by using a YouTube Live video.
Couple more questions. The first one is that I'm easily imagining a group of people around this table working together and wanting to share a screen or share a Google Doc or something like that. So would that be possible for people who are seated at this table?
Yes, absolutely. We can use the share screen function right here on the platform to bring up content, but just like any other platform, you'll see the screen, you can choose a window, or you can choose a particular Chrome tab. Well, thanks for the great questions, Chris, and for coming to explore Bramble with us. Lots of exciting updates are coming soon, including new themes like our conference center and classroom, as well as enhanced customization features. For those of you watching at home, you can get your free Bramble space at bramble.live. Our free plan gives you capacity for 10 people at a time with no time limits or restrictions. It's a great way to explore Bramble with your team and see how unique and engaging the experience really is. Thanks so much for being here today. Come visit us at bramble.live soon. Cheers.